And welcome to another episode of the Philly BroCast. I am your host, Ryan.
And I'm Ryan. What's up, bro?
Bro, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Yeah, I know. It has been a while. I mean, is this our first episode of 2023?
No.
I think we did a couple, yeah.
We did a couple, obviously, with the Eagles playoffs. Things kind of got caught up, but
yeah.
So lots to talk about.
Plenty.
You hearing that?
Sounds like the music in the background?
Nope. Sounds like I'm coming on your side.
I do not hear it.
Okay.
Sorry, not hearing it.
All right. I guess we'll just have to do that. Yeah, wow, I didn't really hear it. All right. Well, anyway, we do have a lot to talk about for sure. Obviously, with Eagles season coming to a close a mere 9 days ago at Super Bowl 57. Fortunately, coming with a loss. Great season. Certainly better than ever expected. We got to kind of get final answers that we were wondering all season about Jalen Hurts. He obviously is the guy, and it looks looks like he's going to be paid like it in the upcoming weeks. There is a rumor going around that he may be signing before the combine, which I think is like the 28th, maybe. But Yeah, it's looking at 45 to 50 mil in that range. It'll be good because you're kind of getting ahead of the curve, so to speak.
Yeah.
Burrow and Herbert and Lamar Jackson, a couple others. So,
No, I
but
think it's a smart move to get ahead, like you said. Give this man his money now. I mean, of course, people are hesitant just because of what we did with Carson Wentz, and you see flashes of greatness, and who knows, he could just deteriorate, get hurt, anything. But it's a chance you have to take with a talent like Jalen Hurts. So I like this move. Obviously, you want to keep him. Obviously, you want to sign him. And before someone like Joe Burrow gets his 60 million a year or whatever he's going to probably get, yeah, it's good. So I'm extremely happy with this season. With the defense playing out of their minds, that defensive line was just insanely good. Um, Miles Sanders having a good year, Jalen Hurts answering the questions, us understanding how this is going to go moving forward with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts, and Dallas Goedert as well. And, you've got those three weapons with an extremely mobile and accurate quarterback. It's a good problem to have going forward. I know on the defensive side, we've got a lot of question marks with a lot of money that has to be either moved around or we're just saying goodbye to a bunch of people, which is most likely going to happen. So what do you think is the one of the big names that we're going to say goodbye to on the defensive side of the football?
I'll give you two. I think Bradbury and Hargrave are most likely gone, just given their salary, their contract. They're probably going to both make almost 20 million. At least one of them definitely will, and can't afford to sign both of them. I mean, unless somebody's willing to take a decent pay cut for what their value is, I guess, in the open market, you just don't see it happening. That's why I think their focus is on Gardner Johnson. Right now I think the franchise tag number is at about 14.4. And I think they're prepared that if they can't get a deal done, that they will utilize that tag. But who knows? Maybe they might do that for Hargrave because I think, like I said, his value is probably about 20 million, and the franchise tag is 18. So, well, not a lot of difference there. That might be enough to maybe keep him for another year and then hopefully work out a long-term deal with Gardner Johnson. I think Gardner Johnson is all but staying. And I think Kaiser White's most likely gone. I think Sam Rollo is most likely gone. I think Sanders is most likely gone, unless, again, he did come out recently and say he would take less money, but I don't
How
know.
much less?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to pay you $5 million. I don't want to pay any running back $5 million for that matter. The value's just not there. And I think there are a couple of really good rookies coming up that could be had in the second, third round that I'd be fine to add to the mix.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the market value for Miles Sanders, 7.2 mil. It's like, don't want that. And it's been talked about a lot during this year because of the success of our offensive line and how dominant they were. And you could pretty much put anyone who's capable, who has a very similar skill set to Miles Sanders back there, he'd probably get 1,000 yards too.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thought process there is with the system and the offensive line. You're right. I mean, it's kind of very similar to the San Francisco quarterback situation. As long as you are halfway decent, you can pretty much thrive. We saw that with three quarterbacks.
Even Christian McCaffrey.
Even Christian McCaffrey probably could have played a pretty good QB full time. So, again, it's I think, like I said, there's a lot of really good rookies coming out. Bijan Robinson, obviously one of the best. Clear cut number one. Jahmyr Gibbs. A couple other guys, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, I really like. There's a bunch of names that I wouldn't mind having, and I could certainly see maybe the Eagles in the second or third round if a guy falls like Gibbs. I don't think he'll fall to us at 62. I think is our pick,
Hmm.
but highly doubt it. But you never know. The crazy things have happened, but. Um, yeah, my prediction is we're most likely going to lose Hargrave. We're going to lose Bradbury. We're going to lose probably Joseph. Sue, maybe an outside shot, vet minimum. Cox and Brandon Graham, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be team friendly. Hey, finish your career out in Philly. Do it the right way. Cox, we've given you plenty of money. Graham, we've given you plenty of money. Now help us try to keep this window open.
Yeah.
But I could also see everybody on the defensive line not signing, which would be just
devastating.
I mean, you're essentially going to have to try and replace 5 people. Now, granted, 2 of them are very, very rotational, and Sue and Linval Joseph, but you have obviously the history with Cox and Graham, and Hargrave has been better than advertised in his time here in Philadelphia. So
absolutely,
it would suck to lose him, and Cox, especially with Jordan Davis, hopefully taking a big step in his second year and needing that veteran leadership to kind of guide him. So I fully expect the Eagles to go after defensive line, whether at number 10 or number 30, but it's really, really, I mean, with so many question marks on the defense, it's hard to kind of predict. And me and Dibes TPL have done, I don't know, I think we've done about 8 mock drafts so far this offseason. And we have to kind of preface it, everything that we say with listen, this all can and most likely will change as far as our needs, our desires, our wants for players. Based on, I mean, we have 8 out of 11 starters that are going to be free agents. You have Gardner Johnson, you have Bradbury, you have TJ Edwards, who doesn't get talked about enough, had a great year, but again, it's not something I want to necessarily overpay. You have Kaiser White, who's most likely gone. You have Cox, Graham, Hargrave, Sue, Joseph, it's Epps. Forgot about that. So it's going to be tough. Howie's going to have a lot to do. He has a way of making money kind of appear from moving money around and stretching it a little bit. But that's why we are also the number 1 dead cap money team, because he stretches it out. Technically, Hargrave has dead money. Even though his contract is up, it's because he put these dummy years on these contracts that stretches it past what the actual contract is. I don't know how theoretically it happens legally.
Yeah.
We got a comment here from Rufus. What's going on, my man, Rufus? Great show, guys. Epps is so bad. Please don't let them pay him. Yeah, listen. I think going into the season, we thought safety was, after Bradbury got signed, of course, we all thought that Epps and the safety group were clear cut the issue on the defense. Obviously, bringing in Gardner Johnson really secured that and allowed Epps to not be the focus and the main safety. I thought he did an all right job. Would I bring him back on a couple of million? Yeah, I would, just to make the money work. And I think he's, a piece that can kind of, again, if you're going to draft a rookie safety in the, pick number 30 or maybe in the second round, but we all know how he doesn't draft safeties in the first round. But yeah, you want to kind of transition, maybe give Epps the year until the rook can kind of take over. I'm fine with that. As long as it's, team friendly and only a couple of mil for Epps, he certainly isn't valued anything more than that. Obviously, Gardner Johnson is the main focus, and I think is when you look at Howie, you look at this team. I think realizing Bradbury and Hargrave are maybe pipe dreams with considering how much they make or going to make. I think Gardner Johnson's the clear-cut target.
I mean, it stinks. I actually disagree. I don't think Epps did well at all this year. Maybe stepped up a couple plays in a couple games, but there was too many times where I said, I'm watching a guy who looks like he's lost. And he just seemed to play that way. I mean, he gets a lot of, highlight reel hits because he is a big hitter.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's one of those things where I see it your way, and that makes a lot more sense because I just think get rid of him because, it's whatever. I don't think it'll be a loss. But towards what you were saying, you do have a guy that knows the defense, especially I would imagine that in the first round we're going to try and target a safety. And if we can get the guy we like, I mean, in the 30th pick, not 10th.
Still, I mean, like I said.
And the Eagles don't draft linebackers either. But what happened last year, Reis?
We didn't draft a linebacker in the first round.
Oh, not in the first round. You just said period. They don't draft linebackers.
Well, no. What I was referring to was in the first round.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway, you got your almost first round linebacker in the fourth round, right? Last year. So maybe something will happen. Either way, maybe a top tier safety falls to pick 30. Got to snag him. So what I'm saying is I'm backing off of my just get rid of him whole plan simply because, if you can bring him back on the cheap and it's somebody who knows the defense and knows this team and can teach somebody, how to be around a team, how to be around an NFL team, what to expect on the field. That's huge. And I agree. That's a really good point. I didn't think of it that way. Just because I literally remember games where you're like, what are you looking at? What are you doing? Where are you?
Agreed. I mean, at least he wasn't as egregious as Nate. Nate Geary? Face backwards.
Yeah.
But no. Listen, I agree. He wasn't great at all. He wasn't good. He was kind of just there. But when you also look at who we have. Again, Reed Blankenship certainly stepped up, but he was an undrafted rookie for a reason. He played above his head. Do I think he can improve? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think he can be consistent and sustain that success and that skill? Absolutely. And getting that experience this past year was huge for him. And I think when it comes down to it, if Reed Blankenship and Gardner Johnson are your safeties, starting safeties, that's, not the worst thing in the world. So, but after Reed Blankenship, it's like, I mean, Kevon Wallace, my God, you have not done anything. Anthony Harris, like, you got cut for a reason. You got brought back after you got cut by Denver. Like, you're not really anything. There's not a lot going on in the safety department for the Eagles outside of, Blankenship, who has potential, and, of course, re-signing Gardner Johnson. Now, again, if you want to bring back Epps, and I'm all for that depth. I'm all for having, 3 competent, decent starters, obviously Epps and Blankenship on the decent end. I'm fine with that, but I would love to draft a rookie. There's, a bunch of really good rookies that I think can be had. I would think second, third round. There's kid out of Georgia, Chris Smith, kid out of Illinois, Brown. Those are guys that can be kind of had in that second, third round area.
Yeah.
And I think would have great depth to the squad.
Awesome.
But,
all right. So, what do you think about the offensive side of the ball? A guy like Jason Kelce, we can't speak on right now. No one knows.
This man, I love him to death. He is by far the mayor of Philadelphia, the mayor of Sea Isle, whatever you want to call it. This dude can just not do no wrong. Like
No.
he's just an amazing person. He's just full of life. I mean, if you've ever seen his podcast that he does with his brother, absolutely hilarious.
It's
Like,
almost as good as ours.
almost. I mean, we don't have the star power, but you
Yeah.
know, yeah. But he holds us hostage every year for the past. It feels like 10 years, but it's obviously only been a few. But still, he holds us hostage. He's really not that old. So, like, again, like, I just, I just wish he would let us know sooner than later. I believe he will be back. I don't think he wants to end his career with a loss in the Super Bowl. Wants to give it another shot. But if Jason Kelce decides to hang it up, it would suck. It would absolutely suck. You're losing the best center in the game. A player who could, again, it's hard to, for offensive linemen, but I would assume just his great play, his all-pro status, the Pro Bowls, he would be a candidate for the Hall of Fame. But you have Cam Jurgens, who, when asked to step in,
did pretty well.
And again, he's learning from, again, as I said, one of the better centers in the game, if not the best center. You also have clearly the best offensive line coach in Jeff Stoutland. So while obviously there would be a dip, I think Cam Jurgens can easily keep that line together. Now, the real question, though, is Isaac Seumalo. He's a free agent. And while he doesn't have as much notoriety as maybe as everyone else on the line, I have this sneaky suspicion he's kind of one of those like silent, but kind of the glue a little bit.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the praise, but I think losing him this offseason will affect us. And again, you can always go ahead and draft a rookie, or you have, a few options to kind of, replace him. And again, if Kelce returns, Cam Jurgens is certainly another option to fill that right guard spot. But I think that's going to be probably the most important thing on the offensive side this offseason is figuring out center, right guard, and what's the combo there.
Yeah.
Outside of that, as we talked about Sanders, losing him will definitely be a loss. He's a good player. He had a great season. He finally kind of filled those shoes that we all thought he could, and I think he can continue to build on it. But again, it's all about money, and running backs don't hold very, very much value. How many times have you seen a team who the starting running back goes down and the backup you never heard of
just has a
comes in
spectacular season?
Right. It happens all
Too
the
many
time.
times.
Right. So, to me, all that tells me is, well, yes, there is a difference between a Christian McCaffrey, a Jonathan Taylor, a Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, et cetera, et cetera. There are guys that are clearly just talented more than everyone else. But I don't think the difference between the top tier talent and the average talent, I feel like it's a lot closer than other positions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's why you can have, some rando guy kind of come in. And if he has enough talent and kind of in that middling area, can come in and be successful. Now, as this league turns into a more passing league, that need for that is obviously going down. So, it's not that big of a deal if, oh, man, we lost Christian McCaffrey. Oh, we got Elijah Mitchell. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Dalvin Cook. Oh, we got Madison.
Yeah.
We're good. How many times? So, to me, you bring in a rook. If you can get one of the top guys, say if Bijan's there at 30, which, again, I don't think will happen, and I don't even think Howie would pull the trigger. But say 62, Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama's there. Yeah, let's do it. Or even if you're in the third or fourth and you want to take a flyer on a guy, I think having him with Gainwell, Boston Scott technically is a free agent. So I don't know if he's coming back. You also have Trey Sermon, who just kind of got lost in the shuffle with the depth chart. So I'm okay with the running game, considering you also have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, right.
So
It's
it's
the
less.
most important running back in the league, if not our team. I mean, he is what drives that offense. So his ability to run like that is obviously huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So outside of that, I think we got to figure out wide receiver after Brown and Smith. Quez was very disappointing this year. We all thought that he was going to take a big step up, and he just didn't. He took a big step back, and a lot of people are saying get rid of him. But I don't necessarily know if I'm in that. I mean, he's cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
if he
bring
can
him back on the cheap, but just don't give him as big of a role. Like you need somebody that, like Zach Pascal a few years ago, would have been the addition that we needed. I mean, Zach Pascal had the quiet success of, he's a good blocking wide receiver. He gets out there, he does his job, but he wasn't involved at all. So if you can find somebody who would take the place of him, because you're probably not bringing Zach Pascal back, I doubt.
I mean, I don't know. Again, his familiarity with Sirianni and the fact that he does all of those little things like blocking. It's hard sometimes when you don't see it on the stat sheet how good a player is. And while I don't think Zach Pascal is a superstar or anything, but I think for a fourth wide receiver, he does those little things that you really need him to do. And I'd be more than fine with him staying as the fourth receiver, bringing somebody in, maybe again a rookie of second, third day, to compete for that third spot. And personally, I would love to have somebody wide receiver who returner as well, because the return game was such trash.
Special teams overall was a bit all over the place this year.
Yeah, especially our punter. I mean, hell, Jake Elliott did fine.
He's Jake the Snake. He's good. He's solid.
Right. I think that's another thing I want to figure out. Who again? I hope Pascal's 4, and honestly, I would love to bring in somebody who pushes Quez back to 5.
Yeah,
and then you have either a rookie or you sign a free agent that can kind of do a little bit of everything. And then, last but not least, tight end too.
Our boy.
I'm just not impressed with Stoll or Calcaterra.
Our boy, bring him up, bring him back, and bring him up. Let's give it to him.
Jackson.
Yeah, man.
Listen, he technically is a free agent as well. So I don't know what his future holds, but listen, we got to see him up close and personal, and he was just noticeably really good. Like different. Yeah, he's just huge and just towered over everybody and just out physicaled everybody. And I think a lot of injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit, but if he can stay healthy, I think he would be an amazing, option to kind of build on. But
great red zone target.
Great red zone target. But unfortunately, I just don't see how he's going to fit. Especially with Calcaterra going into his second year. Stoll, they really seem to like Stoll, who out snapped Calcaterra like 2-1.
Yeah,
this offseason. And unfortunately, you just have these, Stoll, Calcaterra, Jackson, these kind of middling, tight ends, and I would love to bring in a rook, kind of, again, I think kind of how we've done as the Eagles organization. When you had Selleck, you drafted Ertz, and Selleck was for 5 or 6. You bring him up, and then you have the old vet, and then you have the emerging top tight end, and you did the same thing as Ertz was getting there. You bring in Goddard, and again, I think now's that time to maybe go after like a Darnell Washington from Georgia, or I could talk all day on a few tight end options. But yeah, I would love it. Absolutely love it. And then that would secure the tight end 2 spot. And then you figure, you have Calcaterra, you have Stoll, you have Jackson if he's going to resign. Figure out tight end 3. Hey, what's going on, Rich? What's up, buddy? How are you, Pat?
You know, it's funny that you mentioned having Selleck and then drafting Ertz, because I was just reminded not too long ago that Travis Kelce was in that same draft. And we took Ertz before Kelce, which was wild considering that we had Jason Kelce already on the team, probably advocating for his brother.
Oh, he was.
And we went with Ertz anyway, who, don't get me wrong, amazing tight end, Philly legend. But could you imagine having Travis Kelce instead of Zach Ertz?
Wow.
Technically, if you want to get nitpicky, and again, I love Zach Ertz, please don't, chastise me. But we made the wrong choice in that draft, so it's funny, like 2020 vision, or hindsight's always 2020. At least that it's funny that you had mentioned the Kelce's podcast, because they were talking about it, how Travis is just waiting there, and they took Zach Ertz, and he's like, "Oh man, I was hoping I could play with my brother again."
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Andy was in Kansas City at the time, and I think, didn't Kansas City have the first pick that year? Wasn't that the year we got Lane Johnson?
Was it that long ago?
Was it that year? Yeah, because we picked Lane Johnson at 4. They picked Eric Fisher at number 1.
Oh yeah,
and then we took Ertz at 35, which Darius Slay then was drafted right after. Hey, where was?
I forget how long they said he waited, but
looks like 63rd overall pick, and yeah, trying to think who the Eagles, or see what the Eagles picked right before.
It's just wild to think, like, you can go throughout every draft and say which team could have had which guy. I mean,
right. Oh yeah,
that's a fun game to play too. Something like, it's almost the butterfly effect. Like, what if Tom Brady didn't get picked all the way down at 7 and went to the Jets and
right,
blah 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 blah. Like,
well, that was
been the same thing.
That was also the Manti Te'o draft.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like 2nd or 3rd overall?
No.
No.
He was, when did he get drafted?
I thought he was like
38th to San Diego.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Smith, Robert Woods.
His girlfriend was in the crowd too.
That's messed up. Eddie Lacy, Le'Veon Bell,
Eddie Lacy,
Keenan Allen. Ooh,
stud draft.
Right after, so
where's Eddie Lacy? Eddie, are you watching our show?
Probably
just comment. Let us know what you're up to.
Probably eating with a bucket of I don't know, something unhealthy. So Kelce got picked at 63. We drafted Benny Logan at 67.
Trying to attack the defense there, huh?
Yeah, although we probably should have taken Tyrann Mathieu, who got selected 2 picks later.
Yep.
Yeah, it sucks. He was, right there, and unfortunately, if you look back, obviously Zach Ertz, great. But what would our team look like, or would have looked like?
Oh my gosh!
Let's say instead of Zach Ertz, we drafted Darius Slay, who got picked 1 pick after Ertz.
Okay.
And then we somehow trade up over, past Kansas City, and draft Travis Kelce.
Obviously, we'd be in a very similar situation that we are now, because we have Darius Slay. Well, and then, Dallas Goedert is arguably one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, he really
he's not Travis Kelce. And the Eagles would be putting up 40 points a game instead of 32 or whatever
Right.
It's just like it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's always a fun rabbit hole to drop down. That was Chip Kelly who coached against him when Ertz played at Stanford. Ertz was not a wrong. No, of course
Oh,
not.
no. Just
Not
saying.
saying that. It's just again
Versus Travis Kelce.
right.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have, Ertz and Benny Logan, or Darius Slay and Travis Kelce?
Exactly.
I really hope they take a look at Dalton Kincaid. Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Good call.
On day 2, I think he would be a really good tight end. Yes. Obviously, I know Rufus has seen many of our mock drafts. So, I'm pretty sure I grab a tight end in most of mine. And yeah, well, I mean, we gush over some of these tight ends. Obviously, the big name Mayer from Notre Dame, but yeah, there's a bunch of really good guys from like you said, Kincaid from Utah. There's Washington from Georgia. There's a kid from Oregon State. Like there's always a kid from Iowa. So yeah, it's I really, 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 really hope they address it. Blah blah blah. We already said that. Sorry. Now you're really not hearing it.
No, I don't hear anything besides your voice.
Yeah, no, it's literally.
It's a reverb, and it's on your end, most likely.
No, because never mind.
I'm just on my iPhone.
I know.
And I do the same thing all the time. Do you have this issue every time we do this? No.
No. What do you normally do? You have headphones in, don't you?
I tried to put them in, but no, not always. For the most part, I do it without headphones.
Okay. Still blaming you.
Check the tape. Check the tape.
I do many, many different shows, and I never have this problem.
Oh, so yeah, it's just instantly me.
I don't know. But yeah, listen. So right now, teams can officially franchise tag their players. Mostly, they wait until the last week as they're trying to get deals done. But so I think they have a couple of weeks to secure all that. Leads right into free agency, which starts March 15th. So we'll see kind of if the Eagles are able to get anything done prior to that. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And I have a feeling it's going to be very QB centric because there's a lot of really good and big QBs that are either on the market or on the trade, train. With Aaron Rodgers and Garoppolo and Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson, Geno Smith, there's a million of them. So I think it should be a really fun and exciting offseason, and that first week is going to get a little crazy. So
yeah, for sure. Definitely exciting and still strange to say that Geno Smith is getting, more money.
Hey, listen, I guess
I'm not saying anything against him. It's just odd to hear.
Yeah, all you have to do is just hold on enough to be a backup, get an opportunity, and take advantage of it. Finally.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've always said my ideal position in the NFL would be backup quarterback, like basically Chase Daniels. He's who I want to be.
Just a journeyman backup.
He's a journeyman backup. The man has played, 100 snaps in his NFL career, and he just consistently gets paid.
Yeah.
It must be a beautiful thing. Like, yeah, I'm sure the off-season workouts and training camp suck and going through all that, and you're still putting miles on your body, but not like the starter.
No. And I mean, to do all that, play in the heat or whatever you might complain about, being sore for however long, guess what? 5 million, 4 million, 3 million, whatever it is, that's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, he's played in some beautiful places as well. So
moving probably stinks, but you're rich enough to pay movers, so
That's right. And yeah, you're rich enough to tell your kids to shove it, go to a new school.
Yeah. You're going to a new private school, and we'll probably move next year too, so don't make friends.
Right. Yeah. So, so that's, I guess that's it on the birds. I think we've exhausted birds talk and,
I think we hit a 3 with that one, Reis.
Oh, yeah.
That's a basketball reference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not a field goal.
That's your
3-pointer.
That's your subtle way of wanting to transition into this.
It's been a while. I'm better with segues than that. You know that. That was terrible.
Yeah,
it was very forced, and I'm ashamed.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll look back at this. In fact, I'll cut this clip of just that 5 seconds and just loop it.
Yeah, we really hit a 3. Really hit a 3.
You see my face going.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone else's reactions are just.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Philadelphia 76ers.
The All-Star weekend, the All-Star game itself was just awful.
I mean, it's just who can get to 200 points and still, waiting for somebody to eclipse 200. But, I mean, I don't even remember if they have already. They probably have already eclipsed 200 points.
Yeah, I never watch it anymore. There's just zero defense. Nobody cares. It's like a pickup game that they're just trying to do this, that, and let's shoot from half court. And
yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, but thankfully kind of like, I mean, I won't compare it to the NHL because the NHL All-Star game and weekend are just awesome. But thankfully they have like skills competitions. I was watching the NFL. They had a great skills competition, in theirs. And then they have some stupid like egg tossing stuff, but regardless, the NBA
they're trying to figure it out because, at least flag football was a little bit better than the no contact football game that they've been doing. But it's tough. It's a tough thing because you're basically asking your best players to get together and play an exhibition game and hope to God that you don't get hurt. And most of these sports, hockey and football especially, it's a contact sport. Like it's kind of the part of the game, and it's hard to do that. So I get it.
But thankfully, they have the 3-point shooting contest and obviously the dunk contest, which you knew I was going to bring up. Our boy McClung. Go ahead, son.
Mac McClung.
Show how it's done, McClung.
The first white NBA dunk contest winner since I think it was 1999, 97. I can't remember. Brent Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's he is the first white NBA dunk contest winner in the 2000s. Congratulations.
It's hilarious because somebody I was talking to, a coworker, they were just like, man, with all the weather stuff, with everything happening around the world and Ohio and everything like that, you really got a sign of the apocalypse happening when a white guy wins the dunk contest. And I was like, not wrong.
Handedly won.
There's literally a movie made about white men not being able to jump, and this guy jumped 2 people.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Sure did. And it's not like he's like 6'10".
No.
He's got some hops for sure. And
we probably won't hear his name ever again unless you just bring it up next year.
Yeah, until he's back in the contest next year. The problem is nobody wants to do it. You have these rando people that nobody's ever heard of. Like occasionally you might get a name, like when what was it, Levine and Aaron Gordon did it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was like the last time there was like a known player. But
Zion said he might do it next year.
They all say that.
I know. LeBron said he was going to do it and never did.
Yeah,
that's another thing I don't like LeBron for. Like, there's enough that I like him for. I know he's charitable. I know he does a lot of good work. Blah blah blah.
Blah blah.
The guy is just a prima donna baby, and literally not being able to go out there and give the people what the fans that are literally doing everything in their power to just keep you as the king, if you will. You're not going to put on a show for him like once?
Well, it's like you obviously always need to kind of keep viewership up. And what better way than to showcase the best players and the actual best dunkers in this contest? Like back in the day, dude, everybody did it. Jordan, Dominique, like Dr. J, like everybody.
And then you move into like the Vince Carter era.
Right.
And it's like, even though people couldn't compete with Vince Carter, he was still the best dunker and just showed that he was.
Right. But now you have these no-name guys that are taking like 5 attempts to actually make their dunk. Unlike McClung, who didn't miss a single one, by the way.
Amazing.
So yeah, like I just don't get it. If I was Adam Silver, I'd be like, dude, all right. I would get like 20 of the best dunkers in the room. And they'd be like, listen, I don't care which, I don't know how many they start with, 4, 8, whatever.
Yeah.
But whatever. So let's just say 4. I don't give a crap which 4 of you. You all need to figure this out. And
I mean,
this room needs to be in this dunk contest.
You get Zion in the room. You get John Morant in the room. You get, like you said, the best dunkers. I mean, I'm blanking on some names right now, but people know who to vote for, who to think about. And
that's what they should do.
Vote for the dunk contest.
Yeah, the top 4 vote getters must be in.
That's a really good idea.
So listen, I say that you make it whatever. Again, I don't know if it's 4 or 8.
8. That's 8.
All right, so you get
8 or 10 actually. But
the top 7 vote getters are then forced to go in. You have the returning champions.
Wait. You mean vote getters overall, or vote getters just for the dunk contest?
Just for the dunk contest, a specific dunk contest vote.
Yeah.
So the top 7, if the previous champion was not in that top 7, so then you'll have your 8. Obviously, if that previous champion is in there, then it's your top 8. But
the previous champion should get he should be instantly in the next year.
Oh yeah, you're 100% in. If you win it, you're in it next year. 100%. I don't care what's going on. And then listen, and then I'm going to institute something to where you get fined if you have an injury, because they'll start doing that crap.
Well, I mean, just their reasoning alone right now is that they don't want to do it because they don't want to injure themselves in some weird way. But yet again, they're doing all of the same dunks in the All-Star game that they would in a dunk contest. So why not just do the dunk contest?
Right. And has anybody actually gotten hurt from doing a dunk contest?
Not that I'm aware of, but they could have landed on their ankle wrong on the way down and just
could have. But I've never heard of that. I've never been like, oh, blah blah blah, hurt his ankle trying to do a 360.
Yeah, the 50s broadcast.
I just did like a 50s broadcast. And the other white guy just passed the ball to the other white guy, and man, his short's so short.
He made what's now called a 3-pointer.
Wow. Am I reading this right? A slam dunk? Oh boy.
Yeah, but
we don't have any room for that in this game. Anyway,
back to the Sixers. Just with the fact that they seem to be gelling right now.
Yeah.
With the fact that Embiid is on another tear, just scoring his brains out. I mean, the guy is just so consistent with his scoring, with his rebounding. The only thing that Jokic has on him, again, it's probably going to be Jokic again. But he's got 6 more assists per game. He's averaging a triple-double with rebounds, assists, and points. It's incredibly impressive. I don't like that this is happening again, but Embiid can't just go off points alone. And it's one of those things, you see how the team plays without him. You see if you dropped, the 27 points that Jokic averages versus the 33 that Embiid is averaging. Obviously, that's going to make a difference in the game, 6 points. MVP, if they're not there, they're not producing those points, you're missing that you lose, blah blah. It all goes in, and it's just going to be coming down to that triple double that he's averaging right now, and you just can't beat it. So, but again, back to the Sixers, he's playing in an incredible fashion. The team seems to be playing well. They just need to get over that hump of being able to beat the Celtics and the Bucks, or else, you're just going to lose in the second round again. Even though it might not be against one of those teams, but it's just been a struggle all year long. Nobody can guard Jason Tatum. Then Jaylen Brown's going to be open, and he's going to have his game. And then Marcus Smart's going to be annoying, whoever, like Maxey. And then, you got Giannis, who no one can stop going down the floor. I mean, that's just period. But our team in particular has a propensity to struggle with that. It's just been one of those rides where you're like, yeah, you're third in the East right now. 38-19, great record. It's one of those things like this. You're getting your best out of your best player, and it's not sustainable. So what are you gonna do? What moves? You can't make any moves, really. I mean, it's very frustrating going forward. I mean, you saw some other teams make pushes, make presses. I mean, big moves, obviously, with the Kyrie going to Dallas and, KD going to the Suns. Like, the West is getting better. So the East is kind of remaining the same in a fashion.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they can make a push, if they can really press hard and get up into that 2 or 1 seed, that's one of the biggest things to have that home court advantage going throughout, or else I see another second-round exit.
Yeah, listen, I mean, right now they're obviously, 3 games out in third. Milwaukee's just been on a tear. I think they've won like 12 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll obviously come back down to earth a little bit. But, it's going to be, a nice fight to the finish. And hopefully they can get into, the top 2 seeds. That would certainly be super helpful, but
I just don't think that they have that drive, because I don't think that. Well, it's not that. It's that they don't have the experience of being in the position of almost winning a championship. That's going to create that drive. Like the Eagles, I truly believe are going to play with some fierce intensity next year because they got the taste. And most of that team wasn't there in 2017.
Sure.
So they're like, all right, well, I want to know what it's like to be at the mountaintop. You see Patrick Mahomes there every year. You see Travis Kelce now have 2 rings or 3 rings or whatever they have. I forget. 2, right? Yeah. But it's like they're there every year. And why can't we do that? We can. Yeah. And I truly believe that, Sirianni answered a lot of questions this year too, in my opinion.
Yeah. He did, honestly. And,
but that's one of the things that the Sixers are lacking. And plus, they have a coach that has been there, the Sixers, has won it, and he doesn't feel like he has the drive or the push for this team either.
No, I agree.
And I just think that the culture's off right now, and that's coming from the top. That's coming from the coaching staff, and it's not coming from the players. Like Maxey's hungry. I know he's hungry. I know Joel's hungry. Harden's hungry. He wants one. He's been close and lost. And
yeah, that's his legacy. I mean, he could definitely go down as one of the all-time greats to never win.
Absolutely.
And how many times do we have one of those guys in our Sixers, brotherhood? Barkley and Iverson.
Iverson's the saddest one, but then again, you went up against one of the best teams ever compiled. So
yeah, exactly. So, listen, I think we all have that in the back of our mind, that second round exit. I think if they can get to the conference finals, see what happens, man. But listen, I think they're at least in the conversation of teams that have a chance to win it all. Suns, Denver, Boston, Milwaukee, us, maybe Memphis. again, it's, I think when you look at the NBA as a whole, it's usually just the top couple of teams that have a shot to actually win it all. And, I think with the Suns getting KD, once he gets healthy, they're going to be, pretty scary.
Yeah.
Denver's obviously tops in the West. Memphis had that for a little while. And then, the clear-cut top three teams here are Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly in the East.
Yeah.
Brooklyn gave up. Cleveland, again, not, it's a nice story, but,
we showed the other night that we're a better team than Cleveland. I mean,
yeah.
The way that we've played them all year, just if I would hope that, that would be a playoff matchup at some point, just to have like a good team that you can beat and you've played well against. That'll be great moving forward. But like you said, with the top three teams being Milwaukee, Boston, and Sixers, and the Sixers cannot beat Milwaukee or Boston, just adds up to either a really tough Eastern Conference championship or it's an early exit again. So
go Cavs.
Cavs.
Well, I know I love weed as a Cowboys fan, but maybe I love weed a Cavs fan as well now.
I mean, as Cowboys fans go, having favorite teams in different states is usually par for the course.
True. Very true.
But being a Cavs fan, that's very interesting as well. I mean, you had some success, but
thing, right?
Yeah,
it's certainly not a Craig Elo thing or a Mark Price thing or a Brad Daugherty thing.
Cavs all day.
All right, showing my age here in the early '90s Cavaliers.
Yeah, that's
squad
NBA hang time action right there.
Oh yeah, sure is.
But no, I mean, can't hate a Cavs fan. They've been through some stuff too, so
it's good that they're showing up, and the young Cavs are could be.
I mean, I do like that team. They have a very good team. It's just tough when people are moving around constantly or making moves all the time. It's hard to get continuity, but they're one of those teams that I can see if they make the right moves, in this offseason and, get themselves together, that they could be, top 4, top 5 in the East next year, same. So, the Sixers have a good shot. Just got to keep playing their game, keep feeding Embiid. He's a beast. I mean, it's one of those things, like, I love basketball overall, but right now college basketball is taking a step right in front of the NBA because the best time of the year is coming up, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like the October time because you get October, November, you get basketball and hockey starting, you get the end of baseball, and you get football.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time of the year. But March Madness is titled that way for one reason, and it's going to be so exciting. I mean, UNC's my team, as you know, and they might not even make the tournament.
I know.
With almost the same exact squad that they had to make it to the championship last year. They can't even make the tournament this year.
It's clearly was it this? Yeah,
Hubert Davis was the coach last year.
Right.
For his first year, went to the championship, and then brings back literally everybody but one person, Brady Manick, who was important. The guy was big, could shoot, he could pass, shoot the 3-ball, which was the most important. But losing one guy and then getting someone like Nance, like in a transfer, you should have been in the same position. They were preseason number 1, preseason favorite.
Were they really?
Oh yeah, they were the AP poll number 1 at the beginning of the year. They're actually tied for the most losses in a season by an AP poll number 1 since the polls started. So at the beginning of the year, they were ranked number 1. They have lost the same amount of games as the previous record holder, if you want to say. And if they have one more loss, which they're playing some pretty tough teams coming up, especially in the ACC tournament, they're going to be the first to worst for all time now.
Yeah, it's not
I
good.
mean, it's just ridiculous, and I don't want to ask for Hubert Davis's job, but there's something going on there. I mean, Armando Bacot, Caleb Love. I mean, just the talent all around that team is insane, and they can't get it done. And it's frustrating. But to not be so Debbie Downerish, I will definitely say he is a great coach. Hubert is a great coach, and he showed that last year. But yeah, if he's ready for the NBA, then I think there's a lot of UNC fans that would say, okay, let him have a shot then.
Go for it, pal. Yeah, listen. Yeah, basketball is weird. Like, again, I don't always pay attention to NCAA. I can't do what I can, but like when I'm seeing Houston and Alabama, 1 and 2, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, these aren't powerhouse schools, But then you have Kansas, UCLA, Arizona.
We're
Um,
still up there.
finally kind of back, and usually they've been kind of wishy-washy last couple of years. Indiana's up there. Now,
I mean, Purdue is obviously going to be a favorite going in, even though they've lost some games the past few weeks. They have arguably the best player in the country, who's a freak. If you don't know Edie, then you need to look this kid up. He's 7'4", I think, maybe taller. Can shoot, run the floor, do it all. Guy's a monster. He's, I think, the consensus #1 pick in the draft upcoming. So Purdue is definitely going to be scary just because they have the best player in the country. But, I mean, a team like Alabama is fun, man. They're fun to watch. They have good defense. They can go on streaks. Houston, they're always in there, though. I feel like they're always in the tournament. They're always like
absolutely. It's just so rare to see them as like a #1.
It's an 8-9 matchup that usually you pick Houston.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to take Houston. They've been here before. They can do this. But yeah, to see them up top, Kansas is picking it up, which is fun. There's another team that I like, even though Kansas and UNC have gone back and forth so many times throughout their histories. Kansas is a team I do like. And I just hope that Duke either misses the tournament or,
well, I was
maybe an earthquake happens and they fall into the center of the earth. I don't know.
Well, speaking of the ACC, I am a Pitt fan. So I do follow my Panthers for sure. Now, granted, they're probably in that same bubble, maybe with North Carolina. I mean, they do have a much better conference record, but overall,
it's quality wins. I mean, if they haven't beaten any top 25 teams, but still do well in the ACC, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, like teams like Virginia in the ACC, they're going to be solid. I mean, they hold teams like 60 points a game. And a lot of these teams are going like, random teams score 92 points in a night, not against Virginia. And that's another one of the exciting matchups, like anybody versus Virginia in the tournament. You have a wake-up call because, in the SEC, you're playing these teams where you're going, 85-80 is the final score. And if you play Virginia, they have a defensive look and a defensive scheme that most of these teams are not prepared for or ready to witness the amount of energy and just stamina that this team is just trained to have. It's wild. It's another team. Like Virginia, it's just like all the time. Their defense is renowned.
Yeah. So
sure. that's those are the teams. Like if you see Pitt's wins and maybe they have 1 quality win, 2 quality wins, decent record and a good ACC record, they still might be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I definitely think that might be the case with Pitt. I've seen them, around, whether it's kind of the extended polls or whatnot, in that like I don't know, 30 to 40 range, which kind of gets me a little scared because that's right when after you take all of the conference winners and whatnot, it gets a
And
little
the randoms that make it, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, usually if you're in like a extended poll, top 40, you should be making it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I mean, right now, but I think they have like 19 wins. They're playing against Georgia Tech, who is not a very good team, but they are currently losing by 1 point in the second half. So hopefully they don't suck. And
what's that game on? ESPN?
I have no idea.
ACC Network, most likely.
ACC Network. Yeah.
Just curious if I could throw that on. But yeah, I mean, exciting times. I'll be doing a online piece. Thanks for coming out, man. Watching. Later, y'all. Was on your work break.
Say what up for me, Ryan, to Crackpot. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.
All right. Love you.
Nice.
But yeah, listen, February has consistently always been that lull in the sporting world, especially after the Super Bowl. Not a lot going on. Obviously, college basketball and hockey and basketball and all that are in their swing of season, but it's really not that exciting until it kind of gets to April for those two sports where you really start to figure out playoffs and whatnot. And, it's not until March when you finally get the conference championships and you get the March Madness tournament. And then, boom, after March Madness, it cranks up. You have free agency for NFL. You have the draft. You have NBA and NFL kind of, starting to get good. You have Major League Baseball starting. That's the one thing that we didn't really get a chance to talk about. But I will say, as far as the Phillies, I'll mention that I think their bullpen is much, 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 much improved.
Yeah.
I think bringing in somebody like a why am I blanking on his name?
You talking about Diaz?
No, I was moving towards our new shortstop.
Oh, Trey Turner.
Trey Turner. Jeez, I knew I was like, why am I blanking on this? I think kind of having him as an upgrade over Dean and kind of making that weight of Harper missing the first half kind of seem a little less than. I think with those two and Castellanos hopefully having a more normal season, I think they should be more than fine. I think the media has kind of downplayed the Phils. I think, when you're looking at like a couple of rankings just came out as far as like percentages to make it to the World Series or make the playoffs, Phillies are like, 10th, 11th, 12th, like they're getting no respect. I think they'll be just fine, honestly. I really do.
I mean, it did take quite a bit of, I would say, fate for them to get where they got. You played the Braves and you played the Mets all year. They pretty much beat up on you. And then towards the end, you got this streak. And then, Mets fall off, play the Braves, crush them. Like, yeah, a lot of this stuff was very poetic. But, But I can't see how them getting better makes them fall outside of 10. Like, that's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. So,
I mean, they shored up their bullpen. They got, a couple starters, or they got at least one more starter that, should be able to, should be able to contribute, like you said, Trey Turner. And then some of the little moves that have been made that nobody talks about are great, just adding depth to the bullpen and adding depth to the infield. And
well, they signed some hurlers. They got some high heat hurlers there. I think I saw a stat there that like 4 of the guys that are on the current Phillies bullpen have attributed to like 75% of the 100 and up balls this past season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. So, I think health and Harper coming back. I think that's fine. Like, we'll be able to maintain and then just make a great push for the playoffs. and hopefully roll that into the playoffs and into another World Series. That would be great. I mean, it was such a magical run last year.
Yeah, I mean, and no offense to your homonym namesake, but Reese Hoskins is not the move that we should. I still disagree with that move. You like that? The homonym namesake?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
still
know. You
don't
hate
agree
Reese
that
Hoskins. I get it.
a couple big bombs are not going to warrant you. You know, I'm gonna go off, and I don't want to go off.
Yeah, listen. Let's save that for next week's show. We'll do more Phillies next week, as obviously, people are starting to report this week and next. So
Yeah,
we'll get into Phillies next week. A little bit more Flyers. I don't know what you're doing, but just keep losing. Got to get that draft pick.
right.
I know. Let's keep screwing it up, but that's it.
Sell the team, please.
Yeah, right. But that's it for us. We went a little over time. We want to thank everybody for commenting, liking, following, sharing. Please make sure that you go ahead and follow us. You can follow us on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA and all of the other places above my head. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And always, we will see you guys next week. Ryan, anything to add before we pop on out of here?
That's about it.
All right. We will see you guys next week. Go Birds, go Phils, go Sixers, and go Flyers.
Peace out, bros.
Later, bros.